artwork. Beautiful, glorious, never seen before artwork. What's good, my fellow peasants? How you doing? So we're going to break this down. Finally, emerging from the shadows, some Final Fantasy 15 and Versus 13 concept art, and I thought we would never see it. I just want to thank Delaney from NeoGaf, or Tom Hardy, and he got it from a Harry Key game, basically at a community event in Japan for Final Fantasy fans Associated Press. There was stuff there like fan service, concept art from characters and places present in the finished Final Fantasy 15 game. But then Square Enix came out and they showed unused artwork and sketches from previous stages of the game. Now they kind of say it's like Versus 13, and you're going to see, even just looking at this one, this was an early concept for Stella. Woo. Belly top, red and white top, black bow. I don't know what this is. If this is like a skirt with white trousers beneath. What is it? Tifa Lockhart's skirt with white breeches. I much prefer Stella's, what they changed it to. So looking at this, I don't think it is all Versus 13, because if we go here, we've got Cindy, and she was at FF15 / Habits of Creation. So there's a bit of a debate in the comment section on exactly what era this is from. Like it says here, I think it's from across the development era. It's most likely Roberto Ferrari's work. He was the main artist, and he wasn't happy. He actually came out on Facebook and called Square Enix out for how much of his artwork went unused. So he wasn't a happy bunny, so it's good to see it. So let's get into it, guys. Let's break it down. So first we have Sasuke. I don't know, is he gelling his hair? Maybe we're seeing the secrets of how Noctis gets those immortal spikes. We have we kind of saw this in Versus 13, the Ravus Noctis fight. This was one I was really looking forward to. Then we have Gentiana with, again, this early concept of Stella. And if you look closely, Gentiana had one white kind of arm guard. But you'll just see that they're reading a book here. Now, whether that is kind of how we ended up in 15, getting the whole book thing, sort of Luna communicating with Noctis via book, which was a part of the story that I got to say, guys, it was weak. The communication via book, it made no sense. There was no reason they couldn't use cell phones. And when Tabata was asked why don't they just use cell phones, his answer was because communication via book seemed more romantic. More romantic? Really? So that was pretty lame when he said that. It actually seems like, based on this picture here, Noctis and Stella did use to communicate via phone. The whole communicating via book wasn't a Versus 13 idea. This one, it kind of looks like what they turned Brotherhood into. I mean, that there is definitely a young Stella, but they kind of replaced the scene with Iris. Destroyed Insomnia. Damn, that's swanky. Noctis again. Now with this picture here, let me just zoom in. By the way, guys, sorry for the quality. It is poor even on my end. I don't know who these people are fighting. Is this some sort of ninja with a whip? I mean, I can barely make it out, but it seems like they're tethering Leviathan. I don't know what this billowy red figure, I don't know, maybe Rubicante showed up. Stella, just a zoom up of this probably, looking at the book. What else we got? Don't know what's going down here. Something with a crowd, and I do remember in a rumour kind of the speech that happened in Lestalem. I can't remember, it's in the back of my mind, where Noctis was going to be confronted by a mob. I don't know, maybe they want the prince to hand himself in. I don't know, just speculating. So we've got Vestale here, an unknown character. There was a really big character, so big in fact that his logo still remains on the Magitech today. The symbol stood for a general called General Sephiroth. Yes, yep, you heard that right. Oh, they used so many FF7 throwbacks. It came across so fan servicey. I'm not going to talk about Diamond Weapon. That was actually confirmed in episode Prompto as being called Diamond Weapon. And when I combine that up with what Matt Kishimoto did on the book cover, I mean, I'm going to do a separate video on that, because that was some grade A bullshit. The artwork that made it onto our game case, it made no sense. It makes no sense today. But I'm not being negative. I'm not going to be a negative Nancy. This is cool. So this one is interesting because Ravus has had quite a lot of design changes, or what we thought were design changes. So we have Gentiana with a white arm. We have an unknown female character rocking this black dress. Damn. I mean, actually, I don't know if that's unknown, because looking, the skirt kind of could be what Stella's was then in Versus 13. Maybe this is just a kind of interim model, Stella. Maybe it could have been an Aranea concept. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking how chesty this girl is. She's chest-delicious. And Ravus just storming off. And you see he's got his arm and he looks like the Ravus we know. So I found that curious because that's an old Gentiana model. It looks like a new Ravus model. And I'll show you what I mean by the old model. Now, we always thought this was what Ravus once looked like, but we didn't actually know. This guy showed up in the background in Versus 13, and we all said it was, but I don't know, maybe this could even be General Sephiroth. And he had just really remarkable resemblance to Ravus. So I don't know. I mean, actually thinking about it, that might be an old Caligo. But continuing on, finishing this off, we've got a Leviathan here. This did actually make it into the game. I don't know whether showing this off. So that hardly went unused, but whatever. We got the crew. This is adorable. This just makes me so badly. There is a side to me that wishes Stella was in. Not because I know anything about her. Again, I'm not one of those people who say Stella was better than Luna. But personally, from my artwork and just visually, the character model, I always preferred the look of Stella. And I don't know, it looks like she's got some sort of like pink bow tied around her arm here. I don't know if they're trying to be like some sort of cheeky, get our Aerith vibes flowing with this. Unless I'm seeing it wrong. It's very pixelated, but that's an adorable dress. And they're finishing this off. It kind of gets cut off. I don't know, can we zoom in? Confronting some sort of mob. I don't know who these characters are. Now, this is the scene that was really interesting. So it's this general character, and he's got some soldiers. So if this is a Ravus, it seems like he was actually going to get involved in the Leviathan fight, and that would have so worked. That totally would have worked. They kind of tried to do this whole redeeming Ravus at the end, but I mean, we didn't see why he redeemed himself. We didn't see why he had the huge change towards the end. He started off as an arsehole, and then he was passionate about helping Noctis. I mean, like, literally one scene later, he went from hating Noctis to wanting to help him. And while I understand why he had the transition, I really think something like this would have been so much better. Ravus helping to confront Leviathan, if it is Ravus at all. Because, yeah, again, just can't tell. Pictures like this just make me so confused on what he once looked like. We got, not sure what's going on here. Some guard pointing a gun at people as they come out of a cave. This was... I think we all know who this was. This is Dodgy Dino. It's got to be. He might actually have been a Versus 13 concept based on this. And he looks even dodgier. Good God. And then we got this picture here that I've already shown. Noctis. What is this? Oh, hello. No idea. No idea. What is that? Maybe this is artwork for some sort of boss we never encountered. I don't know, I can't really make out what. Let me know in the comment section if you know. Cindy, being sexy, as always. Oh, fan service Cindy, love you. We do. I mean, it's not much. It doesn't give away any huge things. I've actually missed one of the most incredible images on here. And this was the one I was most hyped for. So I always said I wanted to see it. Ravus and Umbra had human ninja forms, and we have a picture. Hold on to your butts. There it is. Oh my goodness. Hold on, let me just... I mean, he kind of has that sort of bandage on his cheek. But yeah, wow, you kind of got the black coat. This is what he would have looked like. Again, that's a concept that should have stayed. You got Leviathan chasing Noctis through the streets. We know that was a Versus 13 idea. So yeah, there are definitely some Versus 13 bits in here. I think there are some 15 bits thrown in. I mean, take this picture of the bros here, for example. This is Prompto kind of... It looks like he's in a transition phase from Versus 13 to 15 Prompto. That doesn't look like Versus Gladio. That looks straight like 15. Gladio, Ignis... Noctis, and then even a camping scene down here at the bottom. It just makes it so hard to tell, but there it is, guys. Just thought I'd share that, give my thoughts towards it, and before I sign off, I'm going to say the inevitable that I know is going to come in the comment section, and I'm just going to pop on, with my eyes redder than devil dicks, sorry about that, to chat to you. So what's going to come down in the comment section, it's going to be people saying, after seeing this Versus concept art, I wish Versus happened, we want it back. If anyone thinks that the remake or Versus 13 petitioners have gone silent, I can assure you they very much haven't. I was in a stream just a week ago, and the comment section was full of do Versus, bring it back, Versus would have been better, sign this petition. Now, I'm going to say it seemed like a lot of people were still asking for it. It's always hard to tell because with Versus people... And this is my main gripe with them, is they spam. They spam the comment section. And as I was watching this live stream unfold, the irony that the people who wanted Versus to happen were actually the ones who were killing any hope of it ever happening. And you're killing it because when you sit there, and there must have been about 4 or 5 people, and every 15 seconds spam to sign the petition, when anyone ever comes to a live stream and expresses any kind of liking for FF15, all you do is berate them and mock them and tell them why they're wrong. And this was the issue with the Versus petition from the very start. Straight hold my hands up and admit that after 10 years ago, when I was 15 and I saw Versus, and I saw how dark and gritty the tone clearly was, like more dark and gritty than what 15 turned out to be, that's my jam. I love those kind of stories. My favourite is Type 0 for that. And I followed it for 10 years, and I imagined things, and I was curious, and I even went one step further. I used to read fan fictions on Noctis and Stella just to fill in the gaps. So that's the thing, I followed it such a portion of my life that I do have an attachment. I do still have a curiosity, a wonder. What would Versus have been like? Especially also with it being connected to Fabula Nova Crystallis. I love Type 0, again, favourite Final Fantasy. I do like the 13 trilogy. Not my favourite, people keep saying it's my favourite. It's goddamn not! Although 13-2 kind of is. But I love Fabula Nova Crystallis. So Versus 13, it would have been my jam. But, it didn't happen. And I understand the reasons it happened, and we had 15. And I really enjoyed 15. And this is the thing here. This is the position that I think more people agree with me than disagree with me. Is that they like 15. They thought it was a good game. It certainly missed potential. But they also have an interest in Versus 13. That's the thing. You can like both. And I know that sounds obvious, but to Versus petitioners, and to some of the people who even mock the Versus petitioners, to these people it's like a wild concept that you can both be interested. You can have a curiosity. You can perhaps even still want it to come back. Now, I personally think if they're going to bring it back, the only way they could do it is like a Dark World DLC. Noctis goes into Crystal, 10 years, Purification, World of Versus, and there are a lot of Versus petitioners who are quite clued on, and they kind of follow that same logic. They're thinking of a way to make Versus happen in a way that it doesn't contradict 15. Because that's the thing, they're never going to do Versus, all the while you're bringing such negative press to it. When the entire premise of their petition wasn't why Versus should happen and why they want to see Nomura's vision fulfilled. The entire premise of the petition was just to point out flaws in 15, to say why 15 was bad, why it ruined Nomura's vision, why Versus was destined to be a masterpiece game. Now, and FF15 did away with all of that. Now, do I think it could have been a masterpiece game? Yes. Do I think Versus could have been better than 15? Yes, because I am one of the biggest 15 fans, but I can put my hands up and say that it's not a masterpiece game. I've said 15. Personally, I give 15 a objective 7.5 out of 10, which isn't a fantastic score. It's not an amazing score. I give it a subjective 8.5. So I score it subjectively higher. I know I received it better than what it is. And a big part of that is because I followed it. I do the theories, I research it, and I find things out, intricate things about the story that add appreciation. But I know not every single fan should ever in a million years be able to be expected to figure it out. So things like episode Prompto confirming that the Magitech was actually ancient Solheim technology. How does anyone know that? How can they expect anyone to know what is a pretty significant detail? No one knows. So that's why I don't think 15 at all is a masterpiece game. Yet I love it, and I can hold my hands up and say, perhaps Versus would have been better. Perhaps if Nomura hadn't been so busy, perhaps if FF14 hadn't made the future of the franchise uncertain and made it shelved, if they had continued on and pushed through with that vision, perhaps it will be better. But that's the thing, it's too late now for them to do a Versus, and this is why I think some of the Versus petitioners, that they need to join reality. Like, they need to come out of the damn Twilight Zone, because even in this stream, they were saying, bring back Versus to replace 15, and they were coming up with ideas of it, not of ways that they can complement and they can work together, but ways that Versus could contradict 15. So things like, I'll bring back Versus and do away with Luna and bring in Stella. There's no way Square Enix, Final Fantasy 15 is one of their best selling Final Fantasies of all time. In fact, it is for first year sales. There is no way that they're going to do anything to contradict or undermine or go against 15. So the only way it's going to work is if you think of ways and petition for ways for them to coexist. That right there is the problem with most, not all Versus petitioners, is they're just spamming the chat. They're just spamming, they're throwing their toys out the pram. No, they're aggravating and engaging in arguments with people who say they like 15. If you actually got on board with those people, because here's the thing, when I talked about the petition, more people agreed with me than agreed with the Versus fans that I like 15, but I also have a general undying, unquenching thirst to see what Versus would have been. And just seeing artwork like this, it makes that curiosity even stronger. So yeah, being totally honest, I probably would have signed some sort of Versus petition, because I do consider it a completely different game. And even if they didn't make it as a Versus or spin-off or a DLC, even perhaps just for some concepts to carry over into, I don't know, a whole brand new Final Fantasy spin-off. Or damn, I don't know, even 16, because I do think there were definitely, you could just even see from the trailers, there was a lot of interesting stuff. There's a lot of versions of this petition I could have got on board with, but the one you went with was, I'm going to do everything in my power to tell everyone that 15 is shit, and that you're an idiot if you like it, and that Versus needs to come back. I know more people would have signed it if you hadn't have taken that kind of approach, if you'd, accept that you can both like 15 or love 15, but also like and love the idea of Versus. Both are perfectly acceptable positions to have, because just as bad as the Versus nut jobs, the crazies, and I'll say, when you look in the live stream, that's exactly how they come across. They come across as crazy motherfuckers. But just as bad as those are the people who look down on Versus petitioners and kind of mock them for wanting, having an undying interest. And this is something that people seem to not get about trailers, is the purpose of a trailer is to excite, to get fans thinking and wanting. That's the purpose of a trailer. And that's the thing, when we see things like 7 Remake, and then we're left for years going, oh no, where is 7 Remake? Where is it? And people saying, oh, why are you thinking about that? Why are you thinking about 7 Remake? Well, I don't know. Maybe because they showed us a trailer. And no, it's the same for Versus. Why are we thinking and wanting Versus? Perhaps because we'd seen tons of trailers. That's the thing. There were a lot of trailers. A lot of people kind of make out like there was just like one Versus trailer. There was about 7 or 8 over the course of 2006 to kind of 2013/11. And that's a long time to want something and to sort of paint pictures in your head. Now, I don't think it just then goes away when they then just change it to something that's quite clearly different. So there it is, guys. That's my position. Versus fans, if you want to see anything of Versus come back, I know while I think the likelihood is so slim, I think it's very unlikely. I think there's a smidge of a possibility, but you definitely need to change your tactics. You need to stop being dicks for the start. I mean, just stop being major cocks, cock weasels, and go about petitioning the right way. Which does include people who like 15, bring them on board, because you would have got more than 3,000 or I think it's 2,500 signatures. You'd have more because you wouldn't be seen as like this group of crazy people, which is how you come across, guys. Here we go again, Versus fans, back again. Buckle up, guys. Hold on tight. It's going to be bumpy. Pepper your Angus. You kind of seem like far left or far right extremists. Like you're seen as an extremist group. And extremist groups very rarely ever get what they're pushing for if you don't include the moderates like myself who like a bit of both. So that's it, guys. That's all I wanted to say. Just throw that message out there. I think most of you understand what I'm saying, and again, that's not an insult to all Versus fans. I know some of you are logical, some of you do have good ideas. Great! That's just my thoughts. If you agree with me, let me know in the comment section below. What do you think of this artwork? It's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. It's got my curiosity going again. That's the main thing. I'm curious. What would have happened? How many of the rumours are true? Was there really a street drug called Luna? Was there really an Insomnia police department? Did he really get locked up? Just how much of a mafia family were the Calums? Was Etro going to be in it? Just how dark were you going to go with this title? Did people really do things like bloodletting and sacrificing animals to see dead loved ones? And did the Scourge actually come from the moon and make people gradually more aggressive to the point where children were attacking other children? And when your humanity was completely gone, your soul got sucked out, sent into the void, and then your body inhabited by demons. God damn, these are all the kind of things I've genuinely heard in rumours, and sounds good to me. Sounds like a pretty damn good game. Sign me up for that, because the darker Final Fantasies get, I think we need another darky. 15 was kind of darky, but it weren't darky enough for me. Chaos Pez. Until the next video, guys. Goodbye.